And for more on Bolivia and Chile's century-old dispute, I'm joined now by international business executive Ryan Patel. Ryan, you know this decision legal and binding, but it did not determine which country had land rights, only that Chile does not have to negotiate with Bolivia. So does this leave an opening of sorts for these two?
When it comes to international law, specifically when it comes to business, I think when you have, it was just that Chile doesn't have to negotiate, right? And that was clear. So this was a negotiation. Bolivia was trying to get some help from the UN and from the international, from the ICJ to say, rule that Chile has to come to the table. So now it becomes a negotiation, but the problem is Bolivia doesn't have much. It's landlocked, so it doesn't have much to give up to get Chile to come back to the table in this situation. But there is open conversations. I still believe there will be talks, but it becomes who has the leverage. And right now, from today's decision, Chile's got it.
Right, Bolivia's president running for re-election next year. This is a dispute. It was 5 years in the courts. It's lasted for more than 100 years, but it's more than just land. I mean, it's access to the sea, but that also equals money.
Yeah, and this is about trade, right? You look at Chile, one of the stronger economies in Latin America. You look at Bolivia, they're on the opposite scale in Latin America. One of the, I don't want to say poorest economies out there in Latin America, but they need this, right? That was one of the reasons why they went to the courts, because they were justifying that. And it's not like Bolivia doesn't have access to they've got access to a few other ports in Chile, but it is about that land piece, because then they can drive income for the economy to build it up. And I think for Chile specifically, they just had to sit back because they thought that they had the right to it, and now Bolivia has to come to them.
Right, Chile is saying, hey, this is done and signed by peace treaty a long time ago. Any other options for Bolivia? I mean, Evo Morales says this is not over.
They're not going to give up. I mean, this is have you seen in the climate that we are in trade wars? No country's going to give up. They're not going to give up because they still, again, the decision wasn't made completely hard and set. So it's when there's money involved between economies, and it is, at the end of the day, the money's help the citizens. It is that country is going to continue to push forward until there's a deal. It's going to be hard pressed for Chile to come to the table. There's got to be something sweetened about it, and I don't really know at this point what assets that they have that would get them to come there, but maybe it is the rest of South America coming together to aid Bolivia potentially, to where they say, hey, why don't we create a bigger deal, a freer trade? That's a little bit of a pipe dream, but you never, I think this is what's going to have to take to get them to come back.
Right, there are different trade blocks, different regional political blocks there in the region. These countries don't even have diplomatic relations, official diplomatic ties, and they're neighbors.
Yeah.
So this certainly can't help the situation between the two.
No, it doesn't. And I think when you have, it goes back to struggling economies, to the times that we are, right? Chile has been very strong over the last 10 years through their GDP growth. And, they're one of the few in Latin America. So in their perspective, they don't want to really change that by opening maybe trade with another country that is not as strong, that they couldn't get leverage. They'd putting themselves at risk. And especially when you're in Latin America, people look at, well, what's risk averse? What is easy to do business? And Bolivia and Chile are on, like I said, they're neighboring countries, and you would think, like a Mexico and the US and Canada, that there'd be more open trade. But for Chile, that's not what they want to do. They got that port. They have to be able to increase trade, not just in Latin America.
All right, Ryan Patel, always great to hear your insight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.